Why, hello, YouTube. This is Baylor Mage again, and I got the shortest Diablo 4 video for you. Some stuff that we encountered, found, and I haven't seen talked about enough. Upgrading your gear and specifically item levels, there are some mistakes that can be made. There are times when upgrading your gear might actually be a bad thing. So, I have to explain a little bit how the item power on an item works. So you can see on the top line, we've got Sacred Rare Boots, item power. Now, this is 703 item power plus 10 because I've given it 2 upgrades. That puts me at 713. There are tier breakpoints at every X25. So not every 25, but rather at 625 and at 725. That roll all of your all of the stats on an item up 1 tier. Now, we don't have like a list of tiers, or at least not one that I can find, so I'm just going to throw out numbers. These might not be the real numbers, but it will be an example of how this is working. So let's say right now that the spirit cost reduction on these boots, I'm just going to say it's a tier 4 roll, right? I don't know what tier it actually is because we don't have lists of tiers, but let's just say it's a tier 4 roll. Upgrading from here, which is currently a 713, and pressing my upgrade again, which will become a 718, is not going to re-roll the tier. That means within the tier right now, we're just going to focus on spirit cost reduction. It goes 3.6 to 6. And we're at 5.3. So where we are in that chart, in that like divine range almost, we're going to stay in that same spot as we upgrade. They're all just going to become slightly more powerful. You can see the example here. Instead of maxing out at 6, it maxes out at 6.5. But we're going to get 5.7 instead of 5.3. So at the exact same spot in that chart, the whole thing moves up slightly, right? So this is great. No reason not to upgrade my gear here, right? That's fantastic. Same thing's going to happen again here. I'm going to stay at the exact same spot. So it goes up to the maximum being 6.9, and I'm going to gain another 0.4 out of it because I stay at the same spot on that tier. This is going to put me at 723. Now the next upgrade is going to put me at 727, 28. I'm bad with math. Above 25 is the important part, which means we actually gain significantly more in this instance. Everything goes up a full tier. This means that instead of going from like 6.9, which in the previous upgrades, 6.9 being the max, if it was to follow that exact trend, the same trend it's been on all the other items, we'd be looking at 7.8-ish, somewhere around there. And you can see this one actually now all of a sudden rolls up to 10. Instead of gaining 0.4, I'm going to gain 1 whole % on this one. Now that's lucky, that's good. It's not that lucky, because what's actually happening when I roll up above 725 is it's also divining all of the tiers. So it's like I've gone from like a tier 4 to a tier 3, or from a tier 3 to a tier 2 roll, but upon that upgrade, it's divining all the tiers, which means, and I've seen some screenshots of this, I wish that I could find them. If I can find them again before this video goes live, I'll have some screenshots on the screen up there showing you examples of what I'm going to call failures, but I can't find it again. I had it earlier. We'll look for it. But there are times when the stat that's really important to you, let's say spirit cost reduction is the most important stat and you absolutely need it. You might find yourself with a perfect rolled spirit cost reduction at 6.9% at this upgrade. And then you can find that when you upgrade it to the tier above it, it can actually divine that roll down to the lowest roll, and upgrading, you can lose a tiny bit of stats because this spirit cost reduction can roll down all the way to 6.2, which is the bottom of that next tier. Now, In this example item, that didn't happen. You can see that it divined it went up one tier and divined. But if there's a really important stat, it's pretty important to know that that's happening. It seems to be happening on all items. See for instance, on this one, we're not at 725. The next upgrade would put us there. You can see life on kill. Let's say that was a really important stat for you. You could have up to 78 on this item. Upgrading it next time could bring you as low as 50, right? That divine could happen. Now, where this seems to stop, as far as I can tell, is there is no 825 tier, because this goes up in the standard increment amount, not like when I had 620 items that were going to 625, and not like when I had 720 items that were going to 725. The 800 going to 825 doesn't seem to have a new tier. It seems to be just a slightly better version, just a normal standard upgrade like all others, which leads me to believe that the highest like tier that you can get is at 725. That doesn't mean that more powerful items aren't better. More powerful items are still better. There's almost two things working in tandem. There's like, even though I've rolled up to the maximum tier, more item power on the gear still gives that tier greater range, almost in PoE like adding quality to it might. Like, you know, it's an energy shield piece and I'm putting armor scraps on it, so more energy shield is more effective because of that. It's almost like that. It's a little bit confusing, to be honest, but the important bits, the bit that I'm not seeing enough people talk about, that I've seen screw people up once or twice. It is not common, but it is worth noting. If you've got the most important stat for your build and it's really, really well rolled, and you're about to tick over to that 725 or to that 625, and it's like a maxed rolled stat on your item, it may actually be the case that you don't want to do that last upgrade. You don't want to push it over into the 725 range because it'll divine it down. The important part is that you can see what the divine's going to look like right there on the item. So this isn't a risk. This is just a mistake you could make. There's no risk involved because you'll already see what the preview of that item will be. So if you're going to pump your item up over that and it's really well rolled and you're going over the 725 or the 625 mark, just give a little mouse over the preview window and make sure you're not ruining it for yourself, because that would be very rough. The good news is, even if it does divine down a little bit, if it's not your last upgrade, if you're going to be able to upgrade 2 more times after that, it's still going to be a winner. Even if it divines down to the low side of a range, if you can upgrade a few more times past that, it's still going to come out on top. More power is almost always better. This is really only going to matter if it's like the last upgrade is just pushing you over that 25. But it's a gearing thing that I wasn't aware of. I definitely already screwed it up myself. There was one item I had that I shouldn't have upgraded. But now it's happened to people in my chat as well. And I just thought, many people need to know this. I'm not 100% sure exactly what the mechanics are that are going on here. These are those mechanics as best as I understand them currently. Hey, if anyone's got more insight of the exact mechanics behind this, I'm very happy to hear about them. But important note, now you know, don't screw up your own gear. Again, this is pretty rare. This has only happened a few times so far while I've been playing, and I've been upgrading everything the whole time. So it's not super common, but it is worth paying attention to. It is worth knowing. All right, that is all. I will see everybody next time. Goodbye.